You're watching WAVY TV 10. Now, Terry's on, Alvita Ewell, Bruce Rader, and Don Slater. Live from Virginia's leading news channel, this is WAVY News 10 Tonight.
You're looking at a live picture from the Peninsula right now, where authorities are still on the scene of an accident. A truck carrying radioactive material is wedged inside an interstate overpass, and they are about to lift, or in the process now, of lifting the engine, the motor that fell off the truck and caused quite a commotion today. Good evening, everyone. It has been a long day for hazmat teams on the Peninsula.
It began early this morning, too, when a truck carrying a nuclear plant motor crashed into an overpass at Jefferson Avenue and Interstate 64. Hazmat teams are still on the scene tonight, and so is our night scene reporter, Stephanie Taylor. Stephanie, give us the latest out there.
Well, Avita, they're starting to make a little bit of progress here. As you know, we've been covering this for 13 and a half hours now, and it wasn't until 9 o'clock tonight that crews began making some headway. That was when all of these crews together came to a collective decision on how to safely remove that radioactive motor that's been lying in the middle of Interstate 64 all day. There it is right behind me. This is a view looking down from the Jefferson Avenue ramp down onto Interstate 64. The motor itself is hanging by a crane, and they're wrapping it up in a tarp right now. That's going to be a long process. They've been already doing it now for about a half an hour. As soon as that's complete, they're going to swing it over and lie it on top of a flatbed truck and take it on back to Surrey. So the ball is finally rolling here above I-64, but it's been a long day getting to this point. It was about 9:30 when the flatbed truck came swinging around this entrance ramp and slammed into the overpass. The force knocked the 40-ton load off to the ground. It's the motor to a nuclear reactor pump used at the Surrey power plant. The liquid inside is radioactive.
It's a very low-level radioactive solution.
But the presence of any radioactive material was enough to warrant severe safety precautions. Both sides of Interstate 64 and Jefferson Avenue were closed for a 1-mile radius for the next 4 hours. Inspectors from the Surrey nuclear power plant and Virginia Power were flown in to assess the situation. Cleanup crews contained the spill, but were reluctant to do much more.
Because this is something you can't see. It's something that reaches out and grabs you before you know it's there. You have to be careful and use your instruments. It's not like a chemical.
Well, we just don't want to spread it around, so we're going to take the easiest way we can to get it out.
The box containing the motor cracked open in the fall, spilling the contaminated water. The asphalt underneath and soil where the tainted water flowed now all has to be dug up and disposed of as radioactive waste. Now, as you can see, they're still in the process of trying to get this motor completely up off Interstate 64 and then over onto the flatbed truck, and it's going to go back to the Surrey power plant. But after that happens, the job still isn't done. We have the problem of the contaminated asphalt and soil that was lying underneath that motor. They're going to, tonight, dig up that portion of the interstate, wrap it up, and take it on back to the Surrey nuclear power plant so it can be disposed of properly as well. As for tomorrow morning, if you're a commuter, this ramp, Jefferson Avenue, going westbound onto 64 will be closed. The ramp going onto 64 westbound, Jefferson ramp, will be closed. There will only be one lane open westbound. Eastbound is already open in both directions. We're still going to be here for several more hours tonight, though, trying to clean this whole mess up. Alvita?
All right, thanks a lot, Stephanie. Even though it was a long day, looks like it's going to be an even longer night. Thanks a lot, Stephanie. Our Stephanie Taylor reporting live tonight in Newport News. Terry?
Today's hazardous materials spill could have been avoided. That, at least, is the word from one state agency. As our Monique Braxton reports, a missing piece to the investigative puzzle has been revealed.
When Richard Butler's load toppled onto Interstate 64, hazmat teams rushed to contain the low-level radioactive material. Traffic came to a virtual halt. Vacationers and residents were detoured through the streets of Newport News.
Lots of traffic today. It's more like a parking lot versus the fact of traffic, actually.
We've just got relatives in from out of state. We're trying to go to Jamestown. We're trying to show them the sights, and we didn't know anything was going on.
Had the driver hauling this 6,000 horsepowered motor used a different entrance to I-64, the whole incident could have been avoided, but he followed instructions from the Virginia Department of Transportation.
The driver was not at fault. He followed the instructions on the permit and entered at 61A.
According to the hauling permit, exit 61A, the Jefferson Avenue exit, had been cleared for a height of 15 feet, but the actual clearance at the exit is only 14.7 feet.
That was an error. The driver got on at 61A and the truck just didn't fit under the overpass.
And Calgren says the permit should have read enter at Fort Eustis or exit 60.
Luckily, there was no danger to the neighbors or the people on the interstate as far as radioactivity. But a human error was made. Mistakes do happen.
An error in the hauling permit should be welcome news to executives here at Tidewater Crane and Rigging Company. Most of the day, state and local officials have wondered why the driver got onto 64 at Jefferson Avenue. But tonight, that question has been answered. In the meantime, executives here are reserving comment until the investigation is complete. In Virginia Beach, Monique Braxton, WAVY News 10.
And Monique also tells us an investigation is underway at the State Transportation Department's central office in Richmond.
In other news tonight, Governor Doug Wilder is on the move again. He's walking the streets of a New Hampshire town in what could be a prelude to a run for the presidency. We'll have this report.
One day down and one day to go in Governor Wilder's trip here to New Hampshire. Wilder seems to be doing everything you'd expect a presidential candidate to do, except that he won't say whether he's actually going to become one. In Manchester tonight, Governor Wilder sat down to a private dinner with Democrats. Before the dinner, Wilder defended his new campaign slogan, "Put America First," rejecting some suggestions that it has an isolationist ring.
The most amazing thing is that when people remember what someone may have said 50 years ago and relate it to the day's time, it doesn't mean that at all. It means exactly what I heard people saying in the streets of New Hampshire today. They want America to be put first. And they are tired of their concerns being overlooked, and the future of their children's education, opportunities for them to buy homes and afford mortgages.
Tonight's dinner followed a long day of walks and talks in the towns of southern New Hampshire.
I'm doing well.
Democrat Wilder is in the midst of a two-day visit to New Hampshire, scene of the first-in-the-nation primary next February. Wilder, who's toyed with running for president ever since his election as governor 20 months ago, is due to announce within 2 weeks whether he'll run. Interviews with New Hampshire voters today suggest he has a lot of work to do.
Never. I've never heard of him.
You ever heard of him?
No, I haven't.
Do you know who Doug Wilder is?
No?
He's the governor of Virginia.
Okay.
First elected black governor in 100 years in this country.
My sister's from Virginia. Now I know Mr. Wilder. She was very much working for him.
Governor Wilder did get a little Virginia business news in. He said that the state surplus is no longer $72 million, but $90 million. That's good news for Virginia localities who are looking to restore some of those budget cuts. But as far as New Hampshire goes, this media event is not a campaign. Governor Wilder needs organization, and he needs money, and he needs supporters if he's going to be taken seriously here in New Hampshire. This is Tom Sherwood reporting live from Manchester, New Hampshire. Back to you, Alvita.
All right, thanks a lot, Tom. Well, still ahead tonight, another arrest is made in the food stamp for drugs case on the Peninsula.
And we'll update you on the situation at an Alabama prison where inmates have kept authorities at bay for 7 days.
We understand right now that there's an update at the scene of the Hazmat accident on the Peninsula.
Let's rejoin Night Scene reporter Stephanie Taylor, who is live at the scene. Stephanie.
To give you an idea of what a long process this has become, Terry and Alvita, it's been 2 hours since the crane was attached to that motor, and they've only gotten it a couple of inches off the ground. That's because it's too heavy. It weighs 40 tons. So they've taken some of the components off of it. They've wrapped it up again, and it should be just a few minutes now before they get it onto the truck and get it on out of here. Remember, 64 westbound around Jefferson Avenue is going to be a problem again tomorrow. Avoid it if you can. Back to you.
Okay, quite a mess up there, so take that into account in rush hour tomorrow.
Definitely.
We'll see you tomorrow night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.